The rain had a way of making the city feel smaller, quieter, almost honest. On that cold evening, as water streamed down the streetlights like tears that couldn't be held back, Daniel Carter stood outside a dim grocery store, holding a single paper bag in his hand. Inside it were bread, milk, and a can of soup, nothing special. Just enough to get through the night. Daniel looked like an ordinary man. Mid-30s, broad shoulders, tired eyes, the kind of face you'd pass on the street without a second glance. No one would ever guess that he had once led missions deep behind enemy lines, or that the scars hidden beneath his jacket came from places most people only saw in movies. To the world, he was just another struggling man trying to start over. As he turned to leave, a small sound stopped him. It was a child's cough, thin, fragile, the kind that comes from a chest too small to carry such weight. Near the bus stop sat a woman with 2 children huddled close to her. The youngest, a little girl wrapped in an oversized coat, clung to her mother's arm. The older boy tried to look brave, but his shaking hands gave him away. The woman's eyes met Daniel's for just a second before she looked down again, as if ashamed to be seen. Daniel felt something tighten inside him. He told himself to keep walking. He had his own problems. His own past. His own nights when the memories came back loud and unforgiving. He knew what it was like to be alone. He also knew how easy it was to pretend you didn't see suffering, because once you did, you couldn't unsee it. But his feet refused to move. "Excuse me," he said quietly, stepping closer. Are you okay?" The woman hesitated, then shook her head. "We'll be fine," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "The bus will come." Daniel glanced at the empty road. He knew the buses, he knew the schedules, and he knew that at this hour, soon, could mean hours. He knelt down to the children's level. "Hey there," he said gently. "What are your names?" The boy straightened a little. "I'm Liam. This is my sister, Emily." Daniel smiled. "Those are good names." The woman finally spoke again. "I'm Sarah," she said softly. "I'm sorry, we don't want to be a burden." That word, burden, hit Daniel harder than any bullet ever had. He stood up, took a breath, and held out the grocery bag. "Please, take this." Sarah's eyes widened. "I can't." "You can," he interrupted kindly. "And you should." After a long pause, she accepted it, her hands trembling. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. Daniel hesitated again, then made a decision he hadn't planned. "I live not far from here. I have a spare room. Just for the night. It's warm. No pressure." Sarah froze. Fear flickered across her face, the kind every mother knows. Trust didn't come easily when life had taught you too many hard lessons. "I understand if you say no," Daniel added quickly. "I really do." She looked at her children. At Emily's pale face. At Liam's thin jacket. Then back at Daniel. "Just for tonight?" she asked. "Just for tonight," he promised. That night, the small apartment felt different. Lighter. Daniel made soup while Sarah helped the kids dry off. The sound of laughter, soft at first, then real, filled the room. It surprised all of them. As the children slept on the couch, Sarah sat across from Daniel, her hands wrapped around a warm mug. "My husband died 3 years ago," she said quietly. "An accident. Everything fell apart after that. I work when I can, but rent, food, it's never enough." Daniel nodded. "I understand more than you think." She studied him. "You're not just some guy, are you?" He smiled faintly. "I used to be a Navy SEAL." Her eyes widened. "You're joking." "I wish I were," he said softly. For a moment, silence settled between them. Then Sarah spoke. "If you're a hero, what are you doing living like this?" Daniel looked down at his hands. Trying to learn how to live again. Days turned into weeks. What started as one night became a temporary arrangement. Daniel helped with groceries. Sarah found steadier work. The kids began to smile more, laugh louder. And Daniel, without realizing it, began to heal. One evening, Liam found an old box under Daniel's bed. Inside were medals, folded flags, photographs of men who never came home. "Mom," Liam whispered, "he's a real hero." Daniel overheard and felt his throat tighten. He had never felt like a hero. Not after everything he had seen. Not after everything he had lost. The turning point came on a quiet afternoon when Sarah received a call. She collapsed into a chair, crying, this time, tears of relief. A charity had approved housing for her family. A fresh start. That night, as they packed, Emily hugged Daniel tightly. Will you be lonely again? She asked. Daniel knelt beside her. Not anymore, he said, his voice steady but his heart full. When they left the next morning, the apartment felt empty, but not hollow. It felt hopeful. Months later, Daniel received a letter. Inside was a photo. Sarah and the kids standing in front of their new home, smiling brighter than ever. On the back, she had written, you didn't just give us shelter. You gave us dignity. Daniel sat down, the letter trembling in his hands. For the first time in a long time, he understood something clearly. Kindness doesn't require strength, rank, or a uniform. Sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is simply stop and care.